Yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much. So I'm not really going to introduce the panelists and spend another 5 minutes because all of you know their companies and from where they come from. I'll straight away come to the topic, role of analytics. Uh, I'll start with you, Abhinav. So I read somewhere that 90% business managers believe that analytics helps to increase business in sales particularly by 20%. Have you got a number for customer service or something?
That's a difficult one. You're right, and it is indeed true that a lot of analytics that we see today being used is focused in terms of how customers can be acquired, how you can use that for customer acquisition. But primarily, if I talk about the banks, there are broadly three areas that I would say where this data is being used for. One, for customer acquisition, which is a much touted thing, and because there are revenues, everyone is kind of interested in pulling those numbers. Second, it's from a risk perspective. So credit, so definitely underwriting, credit risk assessment, that's the other big area, which data is extensively used. More so now because now you've got very non-traditional data points which are coming into the ecosystem. Right, and building models around that is a very, very important and critical job within the bank. And third is using the customer behavior and using analytics to improve the customer experience per se. So that revolves more around channels. So for example, if a person is using a channel, a mobile app or a net banking, how depending on his transaction behavior, you can improve the UI user interface or the experience through the customize and personalize to an extent. So to that extent, these are the three broad areas. The most talked about definitely is sales acquisition, because that's where the numbers are.
Abhinav touched upon a very right sales analytics, risk analytics, customer analytics. I think more of the banks and they think analytics in that fashion. First, I should acquire customer, then control risk, and then look at customer. Fino is a very young bank, young bank just started. So, is that any difference in your company, like how you approach analytics?
So, Sanjay, we are a new kid on the block in a category which itself is nascent today. So what happens is, for us, analytics is currently driven in two big spaces. One which is completely sales oriented, and the other is, of course, where the understanding of customer comes into play, which is again somewhere correlated with the sales numbers that come in. What we simply do, and I'll just try and make this as short as I can, that we understand the trends that are trying to come out from the consumption patterns that currently our customers are having. And for us, the VOC, so to speak, is analytics becomes the second or indirect part of the VOC. While first is where right from the sales channel up to my CMD, they are all going on ground and talking to the customer to understand what his requirements are. But from analytics point of view, the things that come onto our dashboards in terms of his consumption patterns, in terms of his habits, and in terms of spends on a weekly, monthly basis, and separated by products as well as other profiles like geography. We use that as indirect communication that comes to us from the customer, where trends are being plotted, and we try and focus on certain trends, and where we can push certain products to certain set of TG who's actually requiring it, but not telling us directly. So for us as starters, for a bank which has just started, this is really proving very, very helpful in understanding our customer through the kind of analytics that is coming out from his consumption that he's doing with us.
Okay. So Mihir and Abhinav spoke about how they're using in a bank. In health insurance, obviously yours also a very new company compared to other insurance company being in the ground. Are you really using an insurance analytics slightly differently in your company?
So I think one question that you asked was that how differently, and looking at the customer, how we can do analytics differently than just sales analytics. So we are actually gone live with propensity, and propensity modeling for renewal is actually given us an 8% shift in our persistency numbers.
But propensity model is still sales driven, I'll say, because because you want instead of
No,
doing
no,
another customer, you know, that
So
customer
I'll
to
give
stay.
another
It is
example.
not a customer delight kind of thing or customer experience perspective.
I'll give another example. So on our VOC, on our NPS calling, we did analytics based on the feedback that we were getting. In that also, we run predictive modeling there, and we've actually gotten a percentage of deductible. So if I know I'm going to deduct this much, my experience of the customer or the feedback is going to be negative. So we've actually made a different journey for the customer to explain why the deduction is happening, number one, right, at the time of claims, and gone back and told those same things in our training to salespeople, saying that these are the kind of problems that the customers face and because of which we are actually deducting money. So please tell them upfront so that dissonance is not there, right? So that is one pure customer experience initiative on the amount of deduction that's going to happen. How can we predict his NPS rating and then kind of take care of that? So that is what we're doing. Plus, I think something that health insurance has very unique is amount of data that we have on the health of the customer. So we do a medical examination. Aditya Birla Health Insurance is also, we have a full digital ecosystem where we take your tracking data from your watch, your activity, how much are you sleeping. Sleeping is not live right now, but it's going to be in some time. But your steps, your calories burned, and basis that we have now, found a wellness score. That's what we are calling it. And basis that we can predict what is the possibility of a person falling sick. And we are proactively going to the customers and saying that, sir, you have a propensity of, for example, diabetes based on the data that you've given us. These are the things that you can do to avoid it actually. Again, purely, customer experience specifically is not just improving processes, it also means how do you make the customer feel, right? So if I go and tell you that you've given me some data, and basis that I can tell you that, you have a possibility of falling sick, and this is what you can do to avoid it, I think the customer's feeling would be very different.
Interesting, Tapan. Like, Vikrant, in your area of work, is there any example you can say, how it is currently used, mostly from sales side or customer side?
Well, predominantly everybody understands it's for sales, so it could be direct sales or it could be product innovation or other aspects. But I think 2-3 interesting use cases that we are engaged with a few banks where we are using analytics for actually the customer grievances. Like for example, there's a PSU bank, and you must be aware that PSU banks are now also being ranked on the ease model. So from the ease perspective, the customer, the ombudsman, the complaints and things that they have, so that is one area where analytics is being used aggressively, and that's a beautiful use case. The second one is on the KYC and anti-money laundering. See, because what happens is you classify your customers based on the risk profiling, but it is not accurate, and it is more of an ongoing process. So in few of the banks, we have used it for the ALM KYC also. The third important aspect is on the actual transactional risks, the FRM. So FRM is another very good use case for analytics, wherein when a customer is actually transacting on a card, and if you are able to detect probability of a fraudulent transaction, is the another use case that we have worked on. And last but not least, we have also been able to create use cases in the asset liability management and making it more profitable for the organization. So in addition to acquisition, these are the other use cases that have really kicked well.
Okay, again, come back to my original question. If you look at use cases and the use of the bank, or you use in any of the financial services, because all of you are mostly from financial services, again, the sales of the risk thing comes much more top of the mind, because that is where the company is looking for analytics team to help. So, at my second question, can you really give me one case study where customer service came first from analytics perspective, or because of analytics company, it can be just one example where you believed you did something which really your company or you have seen another company really gained out of it because of analytics in the customer domain. What I don't want to see that, which is really reverse way linked to the sales. Let's say KYC is again reverse way linked to the sales, persistence in a reverse way linked to the sales, risk analytics in a reverse way linked to the sales. Because you don't want, I want to write up the business, I don't want that to carry risk. That's not customer analytics. What I want to say, is there any way, you have done you did some analytics, but really helped to take the delight to the next level? Abhinav, we'll start with you.
So, thanks, Sanjay. So, I hear you, and so let me think of it this way. When we think of loans, how do we think of how do we think of giving loans? The answer could be around, and the basics the basic or the bare minimum information that we require is A, information about the customer. B, which will include his demographic details, including his name, industry. We want some kind of financials about that person or individual, which will also have his bank details or salary, and so on and so forth. Now imagine a situation, bank is in a position to offer loan, but imagine a situation you create an experience for the customer where you do not require these details, and you are able to delight him or offer him a loan product without asking for this information, without him approaching you.
That's what all the fintech companies are doing, no? Like.
So that's why, and that's why banks are under threat. See though, this entire your question, I understood it was more from a customer's, and you made it very clear you did not want to talk about a customer acquisition model. The example that I'm giving here, I am acquiring customer, but I'm acquiring a customer through a very different superior experience. And just to share, see, WeChat is an example many of us would have heard, right? In China, WeChat is fairly large, about close to 900 million users. About four years ago, WeChat started their payment business. They have more than 400 million users plus who were there doing payments. Now what they're doing now, using the data, using analytics, and using data of the transactions, using information which customers are providing on their on the chat, plus they have tied up with a bunch of other institutions including telcos, and they've kind of created a variables, more than 1,000 plus variables basis which they are offering loans, and they're offering loans instantaneously, pre-approved loans, and last I checked they had more than 300 million offers that they've given out as loans. And mind you, these are customers, they have not asked for their name, their mobile number, their salary. In India, can we even imagine that something is this possible? It's not. So the only, in India, we have another example of LazyPay, right? LazyPay started again without asking too many informations. You do that. So that, to my mind, is an aspiration where banks, that's one way we have to use and treat data in order to reach out to customers.
Yeah, that's a very good, WeChat is a very good example. May any other case study or example comes to your mind?
I have a very clear use case with us, and it's become very important to us because it's doing really well. A year and a half back, we realized that we are today one of the largest deployers of micro ATMs in the country. All right, and we are closely to 1.5 lakh micro ATMs as we speak today. Through data analytics, we realized actually that there was a lot of issue of micro ATMs ATMs being found within the vicinity in the deeper pockets of the country. And because of that, our transactions have started to stagnate and go down. When analytics actually pushed us to go to the market and find out what was the issue. This is the issue that came out. How we addressed it was, we have today around 5.5 million customers who are offers customers, who actually transact with us at points, but who are not onboarded as our customers because they currently do not subscribe to any of our products. How we pushed it is, we have our app called BPay, and to address this issue and to make our customers, have better facilities in terms of micro ATM close by, we have added a feature called Cash Bazaar in our BPay app. What that feature does is, it simply, if you click on that feature, it gives you options of whether you want to deposit cash, withdraw cash, or do a money transfer. You click on that and you get options of 3 nearby merchants with the distance written on it, like 50 meters, 100 meters, or half a kilometer away, where you just click on it, get a request ID, go to that merchant, get cash and move out, which was not happening with our customers earlier because they did not have this facility to find out who is the nearest micro ATM available to him. One second, what happens is our customers probably are one of the few ones who actually have a speaking micro ATM or an ATM because